Okay, everyone, so the last piece of nomenclature that we're going to go through is naming acids and bases. Actually, we'll start with bases. Bases are relatively easier to, there's no special rules for naming bases. Okay, so when you're naming them, you name them the same as you would any other ionic compound. And you also do the crisscross rule as you normally would when you're doing an ionic compound formula. So the main thing to remember is that bases typically have a hydroxide polyatomic ion. So on your, let me get this out of here. On your data sheet under the reference tables, you have a list of common polyatomic ions, which you've already seen. So hydroxide is on here. It's right here. It is an OH -1. So when you're doing bases, it's typically whatever the metal is plus the term hydroxide. Right? So if I have MgO2, OH2, this is magnesium hydroxide, right? So you name the metal, you name the polyatomic ion, which is hydroxide. Now, when you're doing the formulas, it's the exact same as the crisscross rule, right? So the 2 would come down. Remember that it stays in brackets when you have a polyatomic ion, and then of course we don't write in the number 1. So bases have no special naming rules. Acids, however, do have different sets of rules, and it depends on the type of acid that we're dealing with. So we're going to go over this all again. So you would have already seen this in grade 10, but don't worry, we're going to go over this. So first of all, to know that you're dealing with an acid, hydrogen is always found in the formula. Typically, it's the first element that's written. And you'll see a little AQ subscript. So I'll give you an example just so you can see this. Right? So here we have a hydrogen and the AQ. So if it does not have that AQ subscript, it is not named as an acid. So meaning the whole part of the definition of an acid is that it is something that is dissolved in water. So that's what this AQ subscript is telling us. The AQ indicates that we have an aqueous solution, which means it is dissolved in water. So there's 2 types of acids. We have binary acids and oxyacids. So in a nutshell, a binary acid is where you have hydrogens, always with hydrogen, plus an element from the periodic table. So it could be chlorine or fluorine or nitrogen, whatever it is. But it's a periodic table element. An oxyacid is when you have hydrogen plus a polyatomic. My pen didn't know as well. The polyatomic ion. So meaning something from your polyatomic ion chart. Okay, so that's the main difference. Well, how do you know if I have a binary acid or an oxyacid? You have to make this decision first because each type of acid has its own naming rules. So you have to first think about, okay, well, what acid are we discussing here? So binary acids, we'll look at that first. Binary acids, as I mentioned, is hydrogen with a periodic table element. And of course, it's going to be a non-metal. So these molecules are basically sharing electrons. They're not ionic compounds here. So what ends up happening, if you notice, we have hydrogen and the little AQs. So when you're naming this, you have to have the prefix hydro. Okay, so hydro, and the ending is always ic acid. The middle part, and I have them kind of color-coded here, the middle part will be the root name of whatever that non-metal element is. So for example, hydrogen and chlorine, when it's in an acid, is hydrochloric acid. So the chlor part is coming from chlorine. The hydro and the ic acid does not change. Okay. Now, when you are writing the formula for a binary acid, you still follow the crisscross rule, but you have to remember to put the little AQ subscript. So for example, let's explain why we have H2S here. So hydrogen's charge is a +1. Sulfur is a -2. It gains 2 electrons to make its valence full. So the 2 will crisscross to the hydrogen and the 1 will crisscross to the sulfur. So you end up getting H2S, but you have to remember to put the AQ. So you still want the lowest possible ratio. You're still doing the regular crisscross rules, but you have to remember to add in that AQ, or else you're not really giving the acid formula. So give these ones a try. So we have some that you are giving the name, some that you are giving the formula. So pause the video, give these examples a try. Okay, so HF, so you should have hydrofluoric acid. So remember the hydro and ic acid are always constant for binary acids. You're just changing the root of the word that you're putting in between hydro and ic. Hydroselenic acid, right? So if we look at our periodic table, that is selenium. Let me pull up my ptable.com so we can look at this. Okay, so selenium is right here. So selenium is in the same group as oxygen, so it has a charge of -2 when it is an ion. So this is going to be essentially crisscross rule. So I'll do the work down here so we can see this, right? So H and then Se, +1, -2. So the 2 will come down beside the hydrogen. So this should be H2Se, and of course we need the AQ. Here we have hydrogen and nitrogen as an acid. So this is going to be hydronitric acid, right? So the hydro and ic acid doesn't change. And then here we have hydrophosphoric acid. So this is going to be phosphorus. So again, if we look at our P table, phosphorus is the same group as nitrogen. So it's going to be a charge of -3 when it is an ion. So again, I'll do the work down here. So this is going to be H with phosphorus, +1, -3. So the 3 comes down. So this is going to be H3PAQ. Okay, so these are again binary acids. So it means hydrogen plus an element from the periodic table with the AQ. Okay, now the next acids are called oxyacids. So this is where you have hydrogen with a polyatomic ion. The reason why it's called an oxyacid is that most of the polyatomics that we're going to be looking at are going to have oxygen in them. So here you can see hydrogen with sulfate, hydrogen with phosphate, hydrogen with carbonate, right? So the main difference when you're naming, so there's a few things. First of all, we do not put hydro in front. So you know how we had hydrochloric acid? You do not put the hydro when it's an oxyacid. The other thing to make note of is depending on the ending of the polyatomic ion, that will tell us the ending that the acid will be. So if the ending ends with 8, that means when it's an acid, it becomes ic acid. So for example, carbonate would become carbonic acid. If it ends with ite, it will become us acid, O-U-S acid. So if this was carbonite, that means that it would be carbonous acid. So the ending of the polyatomic ion will indicate the ending that it will be when it is an acid. Keep in mind, I have a little note here, that the rules for polyatomic ions are still in existence. So let's recap that. So when you have a polyatomic ion, remember there's different variations you can have. So this is carbonate, but we can add on an extra oxygen and make it percarbonate. We can remove an oxygen and from the original, we're always talking about from the original, right? This is going to be carbonite. And then we can remove 2 to to make it just CO, to make it hypocarbonite. So any of these can be acids. But remember, the acid name depends on the ending. So if it's hypocarbonite, but it's an acid form, this would be hypocarbonous acid, because the ite ending changes to us acid. Anything that's written before that doesn't change. Okay, so let's go back. So when you're doing your polyatomic ion and you're looking at it as an acid, remember, you're still going to see the little AQ. You need the AQ there. You're changing it depending on the ending of the ion. So there are some examples here. I'll move this up. They're kind of tiny. Okay, so hopefully you can see these here. So they're also, if you look in your notes, right? So we have HNO3 AQ per carbonic acid, H2SO4 AQ, and hyposulfurous acid, and then HClO3 AQ. So when you're writing the formula, I didn't really go over this, but it's crisscross rules as normal. Remember to do your AQ. You should be comfortable with crisscross right now. So give these a try. I'll pause the video and then we'll look at them, see how you did. Okay, so I just kind of copied them onto the next page so it's a little bit bigger for us. So when we're looking at this, right, so HNO3. So we're going to look at NO3, that's nitrate. Remember, this is a polyatomic ion, so we do not put hydro in front. So because this ended with ATE, this should be nitric acid, right? So when you're reading a name, if you do not see hydro in front, that's a reminder that this is a polyatomic ion you are dealing with, right? So then we have percarbonic acid. So the per, let's go back to what we just finished doing. Per means that we have one additional oxygen from the regular polyatomic. So this is going to be hydrogen with CO4. Now the charge on carbonate, and even percarbonate, it's always the same, is a -2. So that means that the 2 has to crisscross down. So we have H2CO4 with the AQ symbol. Okay, here we have sulfate. Sulfate ends with ATE, so this is going to be sulfuric acid. Hyposulfurous acid, so remember that hypo means there are 2 less oxygens than the original sulfate. So this is hyposulfite. So hyposulfite is HO2 -2 because the original is SO4. So this is going to become H2SO2 with the AQ. Okay, so over here we have ClO3, right? So if you're ever unsure, right, always look in your periodic, not periodic table, but your polyatomic ion chart. So ClO3 is chlorate. So that means this is going to now be chloric acid. It ends in 8, so it's going to be ic. See how this one was sulfite, hyposulfite. So the ite became us acid. All right, so that's the end of our naming structure. So obviously, those are not the only types of molecules that exist, but those are the ones we're going to be covering this year, at least at this point in time. So it's kind of hard to, when you're studying for this, right, you want to do each individual type of compound, but it's also important that you mix them up. Because when you have chemical reactions, you'll see in the next unit, we're going to have a whole bunch of things reacting. You might have a hydrate reacting with an acid. You might have an ionic compound reacting with a molecular compound. So it's really important that you recognize the type of molecule you have and also the naming for that particular substance. All right. So make sure you practice this and we'll see you in the next lesson.